In the early hours of August 8, 1963, Britain woke up to one of the most dangerous and famous robberies in history. This is the story of the Great Train Robbery. On the evening of August 7, 1963, the Royal Mail train departed from Glasgow, heading toward London, carrying millions of pounds in cash inside its special mail carriages. At that time, banks did not widely use electronic transfers, so huge amounts of money were transported daily by train. But a gang made up of 15 men had been watching this train for months. The mastermind behind the operation was British criminal Bruce Reynolds, and with the help of men such as Ronnie Biggs, Charlie Wilson, and Buster Edwards, the gang created a plan that was considered almost impossible at the time. At around 3 a.m. on August 8th, the gang arrived near Bridego Bridge in Buckinghamshire. They disabled the real railway signal, then connected a battery to a fake red signal in order to force the train to stop. When driver Jack Mills saw the red light, he stopped the train immediately. His assistant, David Whitby, got off to check the problem, only to discover that the telephone lines had been completely cut. The gang then quickly attacked the train. Driver Jack Mills was struck hard on the head during the takeover of the locomotive, and he and the railway workers were forced to remain under threat while the robbery began. The gang uncoupled most of the train carriages, then moved the money carriage closer to the bridge, where trucks and a Land Rover were waiting. In just around 15 to 20 minutes, they transferred 120 bags filled with cash, weighing more than 2.5 tons. The stolen amount reached approximately 2.6 million pounds, an enormous sum in 1963 and worth tens of millions today. After the robbery, the gang escaped to a farm known as Leatherslade Farm, which served as their secret hideout in the British countryside. There, they divided the money, and even played Monopoly using the stolen cash. But this is where the real problems inside the gang began. Yes, the conflicts inside the Great Train Robbery gang were real, although not all of them were fully documented because many gang members later gave different accounts. However, several things were confirmed or mentioned by multiple historical sources. Immediately after the robbery, tension began over how the money was divided, because some participants felt the risks they took were greater than their shares. Some gang members accused others of being reckless, especially after staying at Leatherslade Farm longer than necessary instead of escaping immediately, which allowed police to find fingerprints and evidence. There was significant anger over the violence used against train driver Jack Mills, because some members claimed the original plan was supposed to avoid serious injuries. The driver suffered a severe head injury and continued to suffer from its effects for years, increasing both media attention and police pressure on the case. After the arrests, another problem emerged involving informants within the circle surrounding the gang. British police relied on information from people connected to the gang, and some members believed someone had betrayed the group in exchange for reduced sentences or money. Also, during the years spent on the run, relationships between some gang members became strained because of hidden money, expenses, and fake identities, especially involving members like Ronnie Biggs and Bruce Reynolds, who lived as fugitives for years. But the mistake that destroyed them was incredibly simple. The gang fled the farm quickly after believing police were closing in on them. But they left behind fingerprints on bottles, tools, and even on the Monopoly game board itself. What followed became one of the biggest manhunts in British history. Within weeks, police arrested most of the gang members, and many received prison sentences of up to 30 years, but some managed to escape for long periods. The most famous was Ronnie Biggs, who escaped from prison in 1965, then lived in Brazil for many years, becoming one of the world's most famous fugitives before returning to Britain in 2001, where he was arrested again. As for mastermind Bruce Reynolds, he remained on the run for 5 years before being captured in 1968. And although the robbery was described as the smartest of its era, the case ultimately ended with the collapse of the gang because of mistakes, fingerprints, and internal conflicts, turning the Great Train Robbery into one of the most famous true crimes in the history of Britain and the world.